Walker. On the right-hand side, it is Ayers, Jessup, and Jessup. And we're going to start on the modern side. Heliod Company versus Amulet Titan. A new look matchup, but one that I'm interested in seeing how it plays out because these Amulet Titan decks absolutely everywhere this weekend.
Andrew Jessup really enjoying the flexibility of the Karnak's chair. You
got to lean into it. If you don't take advantage of your time in the feature match to really get a good lean and recline going, you've wasted your opportunity.
Oh, you and I, ironically, were some of the first players to play in the Karnak's chairs because we had a feature match in round one of the first invitational we had them. And if you go back and look at the tape, I just completely laid the chair down for our second game.
Yeah, the Karnak's gaming chair capable of supporting a nap.
I was chilling.
They are every bit as comfortable as we make them out to be. Starting out on Zan's side, once upon a time, going to go find a Devoted Druid.
And he's been doing this since the Players' Championship. Syed making it all the way to the top 4 with Razorverge Thickets and Devoted Druids in tow.
Yeah, I have to say I'm a much bigger fan of this particular setup than I was of those decks at that tournament. I think the old Devoted Druid decks had a actions per turn problem. They tended to do one thing, needed it to really stick to make any traction in the game. Now they have multiple paths to victory. Just a single Collected Company can turn the game around, and I like the way they have adapted to this new print. Heliod, a very powerful Magic card.
Right, and the big difference here is just what Oko did to the format.
Sure.
Right, so previously the deck just wanted to maximize its ability to win on exactly the third turn, operating under the assumption that if you have a Giver of Runes or are just on the play, you can beat an Oko. Right, you clown the decks that are planning on having Oko being their key interactive piece. But now that that's not the case, you need to actually have a little bit more resiliency, which is what we're seeing out of these Collected Company shells.
Interesting to see whether that resiliency can keep up with the raw power of Amulet. I want to relay a little story I was told. This was in the course of play yesterday. I was told multiple Amulet players, I believe specifically Matthew Dilks and Dom Harvey, were able to easily, I was told, beat the Heliod Company decks after they gained infinite life. They just deck them.
Yeah, because you have these Valakuts that are just removal spells.
Yep.
You sit with a fetch land on the battlefield or with a Sakura Tribe Scout and a bounce land, and you can just bolt twice a turn.
Yeah.
That won't deal 100,000 damage, but it's probably enough to deal with all their creatures forever.
Yeah, it is a real path to victory that these Amulet Titan decks can take. Now, a more likely path for Daryl Ayers seems to be just winning on the spot because he has opened on the go-to Amulet opening, double Amulet. This means bounce land plus Primeval Titan almost certainly going to close the door.
Right, and you can see how hard Syed's stressing this turn is he basically knows how far behind he is right now.
Syed going to need a big catch-up turn.
And without a Vizier to just win on the spot, this is a rough spot to be. If he had something like a Ranger Captain of Eos, he could possibly try to set something up where he makes it harder for Ayers to go off next turn with a Summoner's Pact. But you don't really feel like you're getting any traction that way.
All right, let's see what the best Zan can muster is. Once upon a time. We're digging. See a Spike Feeder there. There's Vizier.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Did he find it?
Going to have a kill in hand as well. Let's see. Here's an untap Undevoted Druid. Play that Vizier. We've got infinite mana.
All right.
Finale of Devastation. And Zan Syed took the gamble, and it pays off.
Making it look easy.
Look, that's part of the reason you register this deck. Those easy games where you just have it all.
And this is one of the reasons that this deck has historically lined up so well against the land-based decks like Amulet Titan, like Scapeshift, and so on. They aren't really interacting very much the first two turns, and Devoted Druid kind of just demands an untap step in order to kill the opponent.
Incredible stuff there from Zan. A lightning fast game one, and now We're headed to the sideboards. Both players attempting to improve. We'll start over on Zan's side. You see 4 Path to Exile, 3 Thoughtseize, 2 Veil of Summer, 2 Mirren Crusader, an Assassin's Trophy, Caustic Caterpillar, Phyrexian Revoker, and Burrented Forge Tender. What kind of options you like here for Zan?
So really, I could expect something like Thoughtseize to come in, maybe Assassin's Trophy, but for the most part, I don't really think we're going to see much happen to Syed's deck. We saw that game why Syed is sort of fundamentally favored here. And when your fundamental turn is a turn faster, or it is consistently a turn faster, we'll say, than the opposing deck, you don't really want to dilute what you're doing too much if you can avoid it, and that's about what I would expect here. We might see Revoker come in for something like Engineered Explosives, but that seems a little bit off the wall. It depends how much Syed's looking to take out of his deck more than anything.
Sure. Meanwhile, over on Ayers' side, I think the name of the game going to be removal. You see 4 Aether Gust, 2 Force of Vigor, 2 Dismember, 2 Beast Within, 2 Engineered Explosives, a Field of the Dead, a Radiant Fountain, and finally a Reclamation Sage. What do you want to pick up if you're sitting in Daryl's seat?
The big things that I'm looking at here are basically Aether Gust, possibly. Dismember is the best card here because it's something you can cast off, say, Bojuka Bog or any of your colorless lands, so it's really hard for Syed to ever really play around. And then Beast Within is something else that's an interactive piece that can break up these combos on the curve. Outside of that, I don't really know how much Ayers has to interact here. Engineered Explosives, obviously very strong if you get the time to actually utilize it, but speed is the biggest issue here.
Interesting. I like Daryl's sideboard, particularly for this matchup. I think there's just so many more options than there used to be for these Amulet Titan decks now that they've diversified a little bit what they're attempting to achieve in post-board games. I think a lot of that actually has to do with main deck construction and their multiple paths to victory they have in the main now.
Right, the fact that they can win with Valakut or Field of the Dead or just attacking with Primeval Titan creates these situations where you can kind of lean whatever direction you want, and when you board in all of this removal, all of these interactive options, you end up putting yourself in these positions where you don't actually need to have all of these kill conditions in post-board games. You can just try to pick one of those things and lean out of the other ones.
That makes a lot of sense. Of course, these players, no strangers to our circuit. If you're thinking of hopping in the mix on the SCG Tour, why not check out one of our open trials? Of course, exciting prizes at these events. You get the free entry to an SCG Tour event. There's also this beautiful Seb McKinnon playmat. Is there an artist in the game that's doing better stuff than Seb McKinnon?
Seb McKinnon he came out of nowhere where, okay, so that's not to say he was a bad artist previously, but it feels like in the last year or two, he's really proliferated throughout the game in such a big way. And I remember the first time I saw the high-resolution art for Giver of Runes. I thought it was a cosplayer on a stylized background. I actually just thought it was a person in makeup. It looks incredible. And this art is its own stylized just beauty. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, look, all the Magic artists are incredible. They all blow my mind routinely, but something special about Seb right now, just doing incredible, incredible work. And certainly a big, big benefit of heading to these open trials, that beautiful playmat. If you want to know more about the Star City Games open trials, head to go.starcitygames.com/open trial.
How do you feel about the adventure token with that art on it? I think that's the one I want.
I mean, just all of this stuff, the whole package is fantastic.
It's so tough for me. At this point, I wish there was some sort of digital playmat where I could switch the art on it each round or something.
Sure.
Almost like you can like your computer desktop, because I think it's so much fun to customize what you're actually playing on. I don't know. I like playmats a lot. Maybe it's a personality thing, but it's so hard to pick these days. But there aren't that many adventure tokens.
That's true.
And that is a gorgeous one.
I agree with you. I have to tell you, I joke a lot about the foils I purchase and how I am addicted to buying Magic cards. It's all true. It's a method of coping with that.
I joke about it, but it's in a good way.
Well, it kind of is in a good way. I will say that my enjoyment of the game, just the pure emotional resonance it has with me, has definitely increased since I leaned into buying the versions of cards that I like, the ones that excite me. And that goes for old versions of cards. It goes for foil versions of cards. Just leaning into the aesthetic choices you can make has actually brought me a lot of enjoyment.
Yeah, I'm very similar. I'm a person who I like playing with specific basics a lot of the time.
Sure.
And I don't mean full art ones. I have Champions of Kamigawa Mountains.
Okay.
And I really like how those look. I really like the Dominaria art swamp that has what's the name of the fancy Cabal coffers out of Dominaria? Oh no, you know what I'm talking about,
I know
right?
the card you're talking about.
It produces black for
I'm
each
also
basic
blanking on
swamp
it.
you control.
Yeah.
Oh, is it Cabal Stronghold?
That might be right. Let's take a look. I'll do some searching. You talk about why
Maybe
you like
someone
it so
can pull it
much.
up on the screen and help us. Save us, director. Save us.
You're our only hope.
I think it's Cabal Stronghold.
It
but
is, in fact,
there's
Cabal
a specific
Stronghold.
swamp out of Dominaria that has a different view on that. I think it's just gorgeous.
There it is. Look
Nailed
at
it. Nailed it. I don't know, stuff like that. Oh, the Global Deck Series Forest with the bamboo forest on it.
Okay.
I saw those.
I
fell
haven't seen
in
that
love.
one. That sounds nice.
Here's maybe the hottest take. You know the waterfalls in Car Island, the full art one that has like the bubble
The
of
bucket?
energy on. No, not the bucket.
Okay.
It has like a bubble of energy on it. And,
Doesn't spring to mind. I'm sure I've seen it.
anyway, I play with the one that came out of the intro deck and is not full art.
Okay.
Because I just like the aesthetic of Magic cards.
Sure. I was a big revised basics fan for a long time. I know that choice offends many people.
Lot of people who do not like white borders.
I understand. I appreciated the convenience of being able to locate them very quickly when I was playing them alongside fetch lands. And also, that is the era I started playing Magic in. So those cards have particular emotional resonance with me.
I feel that really hard. The planes I play with is the Needle planes out of Mirrodin.
Yep.
Big fan of that.
Sure.
Unsurprisingly, John Avon.
Yeah.
Who would have seen that coming?
Talking about the goats of Magic art.
Oh, yeah.
There's one for you. Suzanne took a quick break. Back at the table now. Players just resolving mulligans. We do have one game result from one of our other fisticuffs. It's Noah Walker up a game over Danny Jessup. Mardu Sacrifice versus Teamer Reclamation.
And we recently saw Noah Walker take down an online Mythic Invitational qualifier with his take on the Mardu Sacrifice deck. Really,
out of
really
nowhere.
cool stuff. Oh, yeah.
Out of nowhere.
Very quiet. Just kind of popped out of nowhere. Said, oh, by the way, I went 10-1 with this. No big deal.
Noah, of course, an incredible Magic player. Known as a legacy expert, but just sharp across all formats, without a doubt.
Oh, unbelievable. Unbelievable player.
Coming off a top 8 in our Invitational just a few months back. Played in Seoul and Pioneer in that tournament. Can play every deck, without question. Do have a result from the Jessup versus Donegan match as well. Andrew Jessup up a game in that Dimir Inverter Mirror. A lot of that going on across these top tables. I think Dimir Inverter's having a very good weekend. Not great, not scary, just a very good weekend all around.
Yep.
Attention Magic players, we're looking for a few more people to launch our
Ayers with the ideal start again. Turn 1, Amulet of Vigor. Turn 2, second Amulet, but no play.
Missing a land drop is not that bad when you have multiple amulets and a bounce land deck.
Correct, but look at this start from Zan.
Oh.
Vizier already on the table, but it's bounce land time. Has the Azusa, so lots of mana available now for Daryl Ayers.
Is Syed just dead?
Could be.
Is
could
this
be.
the turn 3 kill on the other side?
So a lot of it depends on how Ayers has built his Amulet deck for this weekend, because a lot of players don't feature that kill anymore.
No. Really?
Let's take a look.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I see Handweaver Battlements, and that usually points to an absence of the double strike land. There is no Sunhome. in Daryl Ayers' deck. That means he probably, I'm not going to say definitely, probably can't just win on this turn. But let's see.
He can make so many. Can he just make a bunch of Primeval
Titans? A bunch of Titans? Can he make 3?
And then a Dryad at the end of it?
Maybe. I mean, it's possible. Daryl's going to tell you exactly what you can do because there are a few people on the planet who know this deck better than Daryl Ayers. So we're about to learn.
I hope that's the storm count.
Brain freeze. He shows double Beast Within. And that gets the scoop from Zan.
It makes sense. You just blow up both of Syed's mana sources.
Yeah, no
make
permanence.
3 6/6s and say, look, are we gonna do this?
Yeah, and Syed willing to scoop to that.
So do you know what? No, we're not gonna do this.
These have been fast games of Magic, Emma.
Look, this is why you start on Modern sometimes. You
Yeah.
just know the turns are not going to be many.
Those of you who are jonesing for some Mardu Sacrifice versus Temur Reclamation action, this might be the best path forward. Just some real quick games of Heliod Company versus Amulet Titan. Certainly there's a lot of the 2 ships passing in the night feature of Modern on display here. These are not interactive decks for the most part. They have elements of interaction, but they just want to do their thing, close the game as quickly as possible.
Yeah, ultimately, there's not a ton in the way of interaction going on here. And we saw those Beast Withins from Ayers, but other than that, it felt like he was just kind of on a proactive slant, especially being on the play. We might see him lean a bit more into interaction while he's on the draw, won't be able to have those turn 3s rolled up necessarily. But overall, both players are just doing very powerful things and choosing to win the game instead of interacting with what the opponent is doing.
Right. So new set on the block, of course, Theros Beyond Death. I think there was some concern about how much this set would actually impact these older formats. Coming after Throne of Eldraine, the expectations were extremely high. But to me, Theros Beyond Death has delivered. You're watching it on display in this matchup. There's Dryad of the Elysian Grove on the Amulet side. And, of course, the focus of Zan's deck is Heliod.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much going on in so many formats. The Dimir Inverter decks, Thassa's Oracle,
Yeah.
the key combo piece that let those decks become a real player in Pioneer. Basically, no matter what format you're playing, there's something for everyone in Theros Beyond Death. It is unbelievable how much power is packed into this set, especially after the last Theros.
Yeah, a very different look this go around for Theros Beyond Death. Of course, you can get your orders in now at starcitygames.com/THB. Title of my favorite podcast, the Arena Decklist podcast this week, was Theros Beyond Death broke every format. Now, granted, maybe a little bit hyperbolic there, but as you said, the impact across all 3 major formats, huge, absolutely game-changing for Theros Beyond Death.
So which part was hyperbolic? Breaking every format or that being your favorite podcast?
Both, probably.
Oh, what do you like about it so much?
The podcast or Theros
The
Beyond Death?
podcast, yeah. What do you like about Arena Decklist? Is it the hosts?
I think the
Is
hosts
it-
are just really engaging. They seem like down-to-earth guys who just love Magic and do their best to bring the best technology on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, I guess I could see why you think that.
I will say, though, my favorite podcast is actually The Adventure Zone. But Arena Decklist is a close second.
So what do you like about the Adventure Zone?
I think it is beautiful, kind storytelling in the form of an actual play podcast.
How do you think it stacks up against Tigtone?
It is at least in the same league as Tigtone. Wait, are they sponsoring us right now? They're not, right? It's better than Tigtone. I can say that.
All right.
I can say that safely. I enjoyed Tigtone. Todd Anderson enjoyed it more than any human on the planet.
That's true. We would have, I don't want to say forced viewing parties.
Oh, no, I have been part of a Todd Anderson forced Tigtone viewing.
Well, no, I don't think we can call them forced, but they were, I would say they were only technically optional.
Mm-hmm. I was sharing a hotel room with Jerry Thompson and Todd Anderson for one of the shows we were doing, and Jerry and I went to bed pretty early. Todd was out cavorting a bit, doing a little drinking, and he came back to the hotel room. Jerry was dead asleep, and Todd just poked Jerry until he woke up and he said, "Jerry, it's time for Tigtone." So it was very much a forced viewing in that instance.
Oh, yeah, I haven't stayed with Todd, but he'll go, "You watching Tigtown?" And if I say no, he goes, "Come on, buddy."
Right.
And, I can't say no to that.
You can't. Once Upon a Time is the start for Zan on Ayers' side. How about another Amulet of Vigor on turn 1? Always has that one.
All right, so here's that interaction that we were talking
Yeah.
about in the sideboard games.
Now you're really seeing it. Engineered Explosive, Dismember, and Beast Within all in hand, as well as that one of Primeval Titan.
So you're kind of the amulet expert here. What do you think Syed is supposed to take out with this Thoughtseize?
So much of it depends on the texture of his hand. My instinct is just the Primeval Titan because there's already redundancy in the hand, but there's a flaw in that as well, is that there's so much redundancy in the deck for Primeval Titan. You find a Talaria West, it becomes one, you draw a Summoner's Pack, you just find another Titan. That invalidates that Thoughtseize very quickly. So kind of feels like there's not a great choice here for the Thoughtseize. You do see it is going to take the Titan, though.
Sure, that absolutely makes sense. Generally, when you play Thoughtseize, you want to try to poke a hole in the hand.
Right.
And you can try to weave through all of that interaction. You can't weave through a Primeval Titan.
Nope. That is a blunt force, is Primeval Titan. And here you see Engineered Explosives on 2 from Ayers, trying to protect against those explosive Devoted Druid. Vizier starts, and there you see the Devoted Druid from Zan. Ayers also knows about a Spike Feeder in hand.
And one of the things here about Engineered Explosives versus Devoted Druid, Syed's actually creating a situation here where he can actually just force the issue.
Correct.
And make it so Ayers has to only get a 1-for-1 out of this Explosives. If you cast Vizier and then Ayers lets it resolve, then that means that Syed can just respond to the Engineered Explosives being cracked and make infinite mana, and the deed's done.
Yeah.
It's over at that point. It doesn't matter if the cards go away if you have 30 billion green mana.
Absolutely. Turn back to Ayers now. 3 mana available this go around. Nick Miller just strolled by with a metagame breakdown for us. I'm not going to give the full rundown. I'll leave that for Patrick and Cedric when they come back to the booth. But as far as Modern goes, the numbers are pretty slanted in favor of one deck. 13 copies of Amulet Titan. Next most played deck, 4 copies.
Pioneer's not that different.
No. 15 copies Dimir Inverter across our 37 teams.
And then 6 being the second biggest deck.
Yeah. Ayers now has access to a bounce land and has Azusa. There's a lot of mana available. Did we find another copy of Titan? We mentioned that Talaria West could turn into one, but it takes time. Instead, the play is going to be Beast Within. Going to try and choke Zan on mana.
And this is this is understandable because Ayers at this point probably feels like he has the game rolled up as long as he can just get time.
Right.
Time's the choke here, not resources.
I think that's a great way of looking at it. Here's the Thoughtseize. Going to respond to that Thoughtseize with a Dismember. Going to show just a land in hand. And those Thoughtseize went dead real quick. And I think we're just going to be able to make a Titan here, right?
You tell me. You're the foil amulet guy.
Float 3 mana from the existing lands. You have plenty of land drops to make your 6 with the Simic Growth Chamber. And Ayers is pointing it out now. And it's just going to get a handshake. Zan knows enough about Amulet to know.
That's it.
Once this is put together, there's not much I can do. And Daryl Ayers takes down the Modern Fisticuffs 2-1.
And I feel like that illustrated a point that you've brought up several times with the Amulet deck, is that it's so customizable. Pre-board, Ayers couldn't really do anything, and in the post-board games, just a couple of timely spot removal spells made it to where Syed really couldn't do anything. Just couldn't operate under what Ayers was bringing to the table.
Right. And I again want to mention actions per turn. There just wasn't much Zan could do on a turn-to-turn basis. And when Ayers got to the point where he had multiple options available, he was just able to completely shut Zan out of the game.
Yeah, exactly. It's the spot where if you're doing one thing a turn, right, and then your opponent is both doing something to progress their own game plan, like play an amulet or play a soccer or a tribe scout, and undoing what you did on your turn, you're just going to end up in these situations where you're treading water while your opponent's actually progressing towards winning the game. And that's kind of what we saw in that third game.
So we're just trying to get our players ready to zoom down to another match. I think we're going to go over to some Pioneer and take a look at this Demir Inverter Mirror.
Two-hit giant players.
There is, of course, the capability that Andrew Jessup can just close out this match for his team. But we look in, see a pretty nice battlefield for Dylan Donegan. Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, working on some card advantage. Looks like a Jace Telepath Unbound on the side
Oop, time to get inverted.
of Andrew Jessup. And yeah, we came at a good time.
You mean our graveyard will switch with our library?
That is, in fact, the case, as Yu-Gi-Oh! Has taught us.
You could say it's time to duel.
It is. Definitely some dueling going on. You know, one more point about Modern, just as we settle into this game. Talking with the Amulet players, the players you expect, people like Dom Harvey, Matthew Dilks, Edgar, Daryl, they say that this version of the Amulet deck is as far ahead of the field, if not further, than the Simic Urza decks were in the last iteration of Modern. They think it has a huge advantage against everyone.
That is horrifying.
It is. It really is. Especially giving those players level of proficiency with this archetype.
Exactly.
So the truth has been inverted. Jace continues to tick up, and the turn going to pass back.
Jace is in ultimate range.
That is true. Don't see a lot of ultimating going on from Jace, Wielder of Mysteries.
Yeah, this is one where we see Donegan just axe a couple of cards out of his library, and he knows this is probably good to go because it got to activate how many times before getting here without Jessup answering it? That's a spot where you've got to feel good about just being clear for takeoff.
I think so. Yeah, also that ultimate removal proof, right? Regardless of whether Jace sticks on the battlefield, you get paid on it.
Look at this. Is this the turnaround?
Yeah, this could just be it.
No.
Truth has been inverted. Here's 2 mana. Thassa's Oracle, but Mystical Dispute ready. And Jessup has Mystical Dispute back. And that is going to take down the entire match.
What a turnaround.
Wow, Jessup seemed to just be up against it. Donegan had that Jace running for multiple turns.
And there's a spot there that I want to look at where, what if Donegan had targeted Jessup the previous turn with Jace's roll-up? There would have been more cards in Jessup's library, and it could have bought Donegan another turn, right?
That's such a hard call to make. I mean, Donegan was trying to execute the plan himself, correct? So you really have to have that foresight to play around exactly